I've watched a few one-year piano progress videos, and there's always some debate about whether they are real or whether people can actually learn that amount in just a year. And today we have a one-year progress video by a channel called Piano&Eden. And they say in the description of this video that they weren't an absolute beginner because they played a few grade 1 pieces when they were about 11 or 12. But I'm interested to see, coming back to learning the piano, how dedicated they were learning it this time. So let's get into it. So already, interestingly, they're on a 61 key keyboard with the plasticky keys. It's not the best thing to start on because you're probably going to quickly outgrow it. And if you do start on a keyboard like this, when you move to a piano that has weighted keys, you tend to get tension in your hand because you're having to press the keys a lot harder than what you were having to press them before. I believe the first piece was one of the pieces that they were learning for grade 1 when they were about 11 or 12 years old. But these pieces are already way too hard, and they're probably going to end up skipping quite a lot of things to learn these. For example, they said that they learned these pieces using synesthesia? Whatever the name of the YouTube piano roll thing is. And they're obviously not learning to read music at this stage because there's no music in front of them. Which is fine. If you're going to quit the instrument because you're getting bored of learning in a certain way, then it's not a bad thing to try and balance the learning with the fun. But if you're the type of person where you start learning and you know you're going to quit if you're not doing fun things, then just do 10 minutes every time you practice of reading random stuff before you go on to doing this kind of playing what you want practice. And you'll soon build up the skill pretty pain-free. They're playing the notes very evenly. Normally people go like this. And when you first start learning, it's quite hard to get control of your hands. But once again, this is where the whole 61 key, plasticky key keyboards kind of do you a disservice. Because when you move onto a piano where the keys have got a bit more weight to them, your hand is having to work a bit harder, and it's much harder to gain control. Yeah, so there you can see a little bit of tension coming in the right hand with those fingers that are sticking up in the middle. That's a telltale sign of someone with tension in the hand when your fingers start pointing upwards. A good way of getting rid of tension if you find that this happens is if you play the notes and stop on certain notes and wobble your hand around. Your hand can't be tense if you're wobbling your hand around, so it's a good way of getting your hand to relax. I love the Married Life theme from Up. I actually did an entire video on why it's so great, which you should definitely watch after this video. And in contrast to the Up theme, I absolutely hate this song. It's very much overplayed. This is one of those pieces that would really benefit from having the sustain pedal as well, because a lot of the ambience of the sound is created by having that sort of bed of sound. It's a very nice piece. Einaudi is very good at taking like a simple idea and turning it into a full piece. I mean, it's difficult because when you're playing the keyboard sort of on a flat surface where you are also at that level, you're immediately at a disadvantage because your hand is at the wrong angle. This piece is also probably about a grade 5 or 6 piece, and the reason for that is because there are some technical things in it that are difficult, but also there's a lot of things in the piece that really require understanding in order to play it properly. Like, for example, the fact that it's in the key of E flat major and the first chord is E flat. But then, while keeping an E flat in the bass, you get something called a diminished chord over the top, which sounds really tense. But then after that, it resolves back to the E flat major chord, which sounds really settling. And just knowing that tiny little bit of theory about chords and scales tells you a lot about how to play the piece. So you would probably start the piece feeling really settled. And then you would feel the tension. And then the resolution. So jumping straight into a piece like this, when there are a lot of easier pieces that would give you that base knowledge, I probably wouldn't advise, but once again, it's kind of a toss-up between whether you want to have 100% learning or 100% fun. And I think the answer should probably be somewhere in the middle. A lot of these one-year progress videos are always the same pieces. I mean, I got a bit carried away, but the song is an absolute classic. I love the singing that's going along with it. It definitely makes a massive difference having a sustain pedal. I mean, most digital pianos and keyboards that don't have a pedal that come with them do have the ability to plug one in, and they're not that expensive to buy, so it's definitely a worthwhile investment if you don't have a pedal. There's definitely some questionable fingers going on. I can't help but feel that they're trying to avoid the 4th and 5th finger, and that's because the 4th and 5th finger usually are the weakest fingers, which is why you have to practice using them so you can start getting control of those fingers. You can do exercises like that, which is the first Hanon exercise, and those types of exercises will get your fingers under control pretty easily. I love this song. There is a house built out of stone, wooden walls, floors and windows sills. So we have a piano upgrade. It's interesting because in all these videos, they all tend to upgrade the pianos around this time in their progress. But the earlier you can make the commitment to an 88 key digital piano rather than a keyboard, the better. I mean, these are all great songs. It's quite hard to tell if they're sitting too low because you can't actually see them. But from the angle of the arms, which are sitting like this, it does kind of feel like they're sitting at the wrong angle. If you want to sit in the right place on the piano, then your arms should be just over a 90-degree angle. And also, if you find that you're sliding from left to right in order to get the bass or the high notes, then you're sitting too close. So you want to be sitting far enough away that you can reach over and play the notes without having to scooch over that way. Nice, that was pretty good. It's quite hard to get all of those notes in with the left hand because it's an odd number of notes to try and fit in. The natural thing to want to do is to play the left hand with the right hand at the same time, or at least for it to mathematically make sense where you're playing each of the hands. But when you're playing something like this, you've really got to try and mentally separate out the right hand from the left hand and let them both do independent things. It's very difficult. Yes, it's interesting that they say they can't read well enough. And I think this is kind of largely the problem if you start trying to read later on. Your ability to play the piano is a lot higher than your ability to read the music, which means that it takes so much longer to learn a piece than you are capable of doing. Yeah, so this piece always reminds me of a French cafe, probably because it was written by a Frenchman. I think with this piece, the best way to think about how to play it is to think that your left hand needs to be lazy. You don't want it to sound too active, otherwise it takes away from that kind of calm nature. So you don't want this. Because it kind of feels like plodding rather than calm serenity. So you can use something called rubato, which is kind of like the flexing of time, and really take the weight out of all of that left hand, and it'll make it sound much more calm and relaxing. I think a lot of people find this where they practice a piece so much and then they memorize it and their eyes suddenly start falling to their fingers rather than looking at the piece of music, and then they just get rid of the piece of music altogether. A good thing to combat that is to try and separate out sight reading from reading. If you have a stack of sight reading exercises or pieces of music that you've never seen before, obviously you can't memorize it. So just spend 10 minutes a day reading random stuff and then focus on a piece that you're learning, because then you'll be building up your sight reading and you'll be learning a piece, and you'll be less likely to start looking at your hands if it's easy enough to read it. Yeah, I can just see that they're trying to remember what the notes are in the piece. Once again, if you just take the level of piece that you're trying to learn back a step so that your reading doesn't fall far behind your ability to actually play the instrument, then you won't be missing the details in the music and you won't be forgetting it because you'll just be reading it. It'll be written in front of you. They've actually got quite good technique now with those trills and staying nice and relaxed while playing them. A very big contrast between Chopin and Jerry Lee Lewis. It's great though. I know that specifically some people are worried about certain piano teachers telling them that they have to go down a certain route or they have to learn one type of piece and there's only one way to learn the piano. And there are some teachers that are like that, but I think you should be able to play whatever you want to play. If you like a particular style of playing, then of course you should play that particular style of playing. Especially if a certain piece is at your level, then why not learn it? This, when you're sliding your finger down the keys like that, it's called a glissando, and I definitely would not recommend doing it how they're doing it. Normally what you're supposed to do if you're sliding down the keys is use the back of your thumb and your nail, and then if you're going upwards, use the back of sort of your index and middle finger and use your nails there. That's going to hurt a lot less. If you're using your skin and it's kind of rubbing off all of the edges of the keys, it can really hurt. Another piece that everyone tends to learn when they're first learning. I feel like they might have missed out on practicing scales as well. It goes back to that thing I was saying about weak fourth and fifth fingers. If you practice exercises or just playing scales, then you strengthen your fingers and you get really good control over them. And in this particular situation, if you've practiced a C major scale loads of times, then you already know how you're going to play this. If you've never practiced them before, then you have to almost learn it as part of the piece, rather than it being something you practiced loads and loads of times already. Yeah, they're definitely getting better, especially in the left hand. Playing octaves and jumping up to chords like that is quite difficult, especially when you're playing a more intricate melody. It's quite difficult. It's a very unusual song to finish on. It's making me feel kind of spaced out. I do feel like over the year they've missed out on quite a few fundamental things, such as chords and scales and understanding why and how you're playing certain things, and also how to think more emotionally about how you want to play a piece. But for 1 year of piano progress, their physical and technical ability to play the piano is actually quite good. And as someone that is learning self-taught and just doing it for fun, then fair enough, they can learn whatever they want. If you want me to react to your piano playing, then there is a link in the description with a form for you to send me your piano playing, and I will react to it in a future video. And if you want to see my reaction to another 1 year of piano progress, then check out this video and I will see you there.